Imagine waking up to the news that your country's freedom is hanging by a thread, exposed in a bombshell Supreme Court ruling that just shattered Prime Minister Keir Starmer's hidden agenda to drag Britain back into the EU's grip, sparking nationwide fury like never before. Just hours ago, the Supreme Court delivered a devastating blow that has left the halls of Westminster trembling and the British public boiling with rage. For months, whispers of a secret plot swirled in the shadows. Keir Starmer, the man who promised to respect Brexit and put Britain first, was allegedly cooking up a backdoor deal with Brussels to surrender key sovereignty without a whisper to the voters. Leaked documents, hidden meetings and covert negotiations painted a picture of betrayal that no one saw coming. But today, in a packed courtroom buzzing with tension, the judges didn't hold back. They ruled that Starmer's so-called reset with the EU crossed every red line, violating the spirit of the 2016 referendum and undermining the very foundations of British independence. The decision came down like a hammer, declaring the plot unconstitutional and demanding an immediate halt to all undercover talks. Witnesses described the atmosphere as electric, with gasps echoing through the room as the lead justice read out the verdict, exposing layer after layer of what critics are calling a stealth rejoin. Starmer's team scrambled, faces pale, as the reality hit. This wasn't just a slap on the wrist, it was a full-scale demolition of his grand vision, and as word spread like wildfire across social media and news outlets, the nation erupted in a storm of protests from London streets to quiet villages, with chants demanding accountability. How did we get here? It started innocently enough with talks on defence funds and trade tweaks, but beneath the surface lurked a darker plan, aligning UK laws with EU regulations, easing borders and quietly eroding the hard-won Brexit freedoms. The Supreme Court's evidence pile was damning. Emails, memos and insider testimonies that Starmer's government tried desperately to bury. Now, with the plot laid bare, questions explode. Was this a deliberate sabotage of Britain's post-Brexit future? And what comes next in this political earthquake that could topple the Prime Minister himself? As the dust from the courtroom settles, let's peel back the curtain on Starmer's secret EU blueprint, a web of intrigue that reads like a thriller novel but hits far too close to home. Sources close to the investigation reveal that the plot kicked off in early 2025, right after Starmer's reset announcement with EU leaders, which he sold as harmless cooperation on security and economy. But dig deeper and you find clauses buried in fine print, proposals to harmonise regulations on everything from fishing rights to immigration, effectively tying Britain's hands back to Brussels' whims. The Supreme Court zeroed in on one explosive detail: a classified memo suggesting Starmer aimed to bypass Parliament entirely, using executive powers to ink deals that would erode national control. Imagine the suspense, late-night calls between Downing Street and EU officials, encrypted messages dodging scrutiny, all while the public was fed platitudes about stronger ties. The judges called it out for what it was, a power grab that threatened democracy itself. Protesters outside the court erupted as the ruling dropped, waving Union Jacks and signs screaming "Betrayal!" In cities like Manchester and Birmingham, crowds swelled, blocking roads and demanding Starmer's resignation. Even within his own party, cracks appeared. MPs whispering of no confidence votes, allies distancing themselves in a frantic bid to save their skins. The thrill builds as we wonder how many more secrets are hidden in those government vaults. And this isn't just politics, it's a high-stakes game where one wrong move could unravel the fabric of British sovereignty. And as night falls, reports trickle in of emergency cabinet meetings, with Starmer holed up, plotting his counterattack. Will he deny it all or come clean in a desperate press conference? The nation holds its breath, knowing this revelation could spark even bigger upheavals. The fallout intensifies as Britain grapples with the Supreme Court's unmasking of Starmer's EU scheme, sending shockwaves that could redefine the political landscape. Eyewitness accounts from the hearing describe a tense standoff, Starmer's legal team arguing fiercely that the reset was mere diplomacy, but the justices dismantling their case point by point, citing Brexit laws that forbid such shadowy alignments. One key bombshell: evidence of funds funneled to EU projects without transparency, potentially costing taxpayers billions and locking the UK into obligations for decades. The ruling didn't stop at words. It ordered a full audit of all EU-related dealings, freezing negotiations and exposing collaborators in the process. Streets across the UK turned chaotic, with flash mobs in Edinburgh and Liverpool clashing with police, their anger fuelled by years of post-Brexit promises broken. Social media exploded, hashtags like Starmer betrayal trending worldwide, as ordinary folk shared stories of how this plot could hike prices, flood borders, and dilute British laws. The suspense mounts, with rumours of whistleblowers stepping forward, former aides ready to spill more dirt on the Prime Minister's inner circle. Starmer himself emerged pale-faced, issuing a curt statement vowing to appeal, but his voice cracked under the pressure, hinting at deeper cracks in his resolve. Opposition leaders pounced, calling for snap elections to let the people decide. As alliances fracture and loyalties waver, the question hangs heavy. Is this the beginning of the end for Starmer's reign, or will he pull off a miraculous comeback? The thrill of uncertainty grips the nation, with every hour bringing new twists in this unfolding drama. Deepening the mystery, the Supreme Court's verdict uncovers layers of deception in Starmer's EU plot that have left experts stunned and the public demanding justice. At the heart of the ruling was a trove of intercepted communication showing Starmer's advisers coordinating with EU bureaucrats to soften Brexit edges, plans to rejoin single market elements under the guise of cooperation. The judges labelled it a constitutional outrage, pointing to violations of the European Union Withdrawal Act that safeguard Britain's exit terms. Tension peaked when a star witness, a defected civil servant, testified to pressure tactics used to silence doubters within the government. Outside, Britain erupted further. In Bristol and Leeds, rallies turned into all-night vigils, with speakers blasting Starmer as a puppet of Brussels. The air crackles with suspense as intelligence leaks suggest foreign involvement. Hints of EU incentives dangled to sway UK policy. Starmer's response: a defiant speech from Number 10, claiming the court overreached. But his words rang hollow amid boos from gathered crowds. Party insiders reveal internal mutiny, with cabinet ministers eyeing exits to avoid the sinking ship. The nation's pulse races. What if this exposes a broader conspiracy reaching into global elites? Protests swell, borders buzz with activity, and the media frenzy builds to a fever pitch. Every update adds fuel to the fire, leaving viewers on edge for the next revelation that could topple it all. With the Supreme Court's hammer blow still echoing, the implications of Starmer's shattered EU plot ripple out, threatening to ignite a full-blown crisis across Britain. The ruling not only halts the secret deals, but mandates public inquiries, forcing transparency on what could have been a stealthy surrender of control over trade, borders and laws. Suspense thickens as economists warn of economic tremors, stock markets dipping, businesses panicking over uncertainty. In the streets, eruptions escalate. London sees its largest demonstration since Brexit, with fireworks and chants piercing the night, while rural areas report community meetings turning heated. Starmer's camp scrambles, floating ideas of a referendum to clarify the reset. But skeptics smell desperation. A chilling twist emerges, allegations that the plot included data-sharing pacts that could compromise national security, drawing ire from military veterans. The thrill lies in the unknown. Will allies like France and Germany distance themselves or double down? Public opinion polls swing wildly, showing plummeting approval for the PM, fueling calls for his ouster. As families debate over dinner and friends argue online, the divide deepens, creating a powder keg of tension. This isn't just a legal win, it's a wake-up call that could reshape Britain's future, with every passing moment building toward an explosive climax. Tracing the roots of this explosive scandal, Starmer's secret EU plot didn't emerge overnight. It brewed in the aftermath of Brexit, where lingering resentments met political ambition. The Supreme Court highlighted how Starmer, once a vocal Remainer, subtly shifted gears post-election, masking re-engagement as pragmatic fixes to Brexit woes. Evidence presented included timelines of meetings dating back to May 2025, when the reset was announced amid fanfare, but hid agendas for regulatory alignment that echoed pre-Brexit ties. The courtroom drama unfolded with nail-biting precision, prosecutors unveiling forged documents and coerced approvals, while defence faltered under scrutiny. Britain erupts anew as historical parallels surface to the 2016 vote's betrayal fears, stoking fires in Brexit strongholds like the North. Suspense builds with international reactions, EU leaders expressing disappointment, hinting at retaliatory tariffs, while US allies watch warily. Starmer's isolation grows, with leaks suggesting resignation pressures from his own bench. The nation's heartbeat quickens. Could this trigger a government collapse or a reformed approach? Protests evolve into organised movements demanding reforms and accountability, turning everyday Brits into activists. In this high-wire act of politics, the plot's unravelling serves as a cautionary tale, leaving audiences gripped by what twists fate has in store next. As the Supreme Court's destruction of Starmer's secret EU plot reaches its zenith, Britain stands at a crossroads, erupting in a chorus of demands for truth and change that could echo for generations. The ruling's final strokes paint a vivid picture of accountability triumphing over deceit, ordering not just a stop but reparations for any damages incurred. Tension peaks with Starmer's appeal looming, a last-ditch battle that could drag on for months, keeping the nation in limbo. Streets pulse with energy. From Cardiff to Belfast, unity forms against perceived elitism, with petitions surging for electoral reform. The thrill culminates in whispers of bigger scandals, links to globalist networks that might expose more players. Starmer, cornered, faces the ultimate test: concede and rebuild trust, or fight and risk total downfall. As crowds disperse but vigilance remains, the message is clear. Britain's spirit won't be quietly sold. This bombshell isn't the end. It's the spark for a fiercer, more watchful era where secrets no longer thrive in the dark. Stay tuned, for in this saga of power and betrayal, the next chapter could change everything.